Welcome to KU Band class. In this class, we are going to discuss an interesting and important topic, that is thermal power station. The thermal power station is a general topic everyone has to know, because we are using everyday electrical energy in day to day. And you have to know what is the relation between the coal, the black coal, and our mighty electricity. In this class, we will discuss in details about, you can see, thermal power station. First one, advantages of pulverization, condensation, cooling towers. Second one, pollution control in thermal power station. And third one, that is final, energy auditing of thermal power station. Let us go to the one by one in details. So, look at this figure. This is a thermal power station. How it is? It looks very nice. I think you want to know more details about the thermal power station. So, if you are interested, come with me. I will show the in details this thermal power station. You can see this cooling towers. How big is the height of the cooling tower is more than 10 meters. And if you are going inside the station, you may be known as a different parts. Today, I will give some guidelines to remember forever for know the thermal power station. Let us go into the station. Yes, you see, this is a single line diagram of thermal power station. How the relation between the coal and electricity. Here you can easily understand what is the process in thermal power station. It has mainly 4 circuits. First circuit is the coal and ash circuit. Second is the flue gases and air circuit. And third one is the steam and condensation circuit. And fourth one is the cooling tower circuit. So, let us see. So, last class you are very familiar this diagram. At a glance I will explain. So, what is the process in briefly? Let us see one by one. Here this is a coal storage plant. So, here raw material is the coal. The coal is taken from the coal mines by using different transportation media. It may be rail transportation or road transportation, and the coal is stored at our plant is called coal storage plant. The coal is enough for 1 month. For example, if you are taking 100 megawatts unit, it requires 100 tons of coal per month. That is huge amount of the coal you have to store in 1 month advance. So, from that storage is called the dead storage plant. From dead storage plant, you can see here the required coal for 1 to 2 days taken from this one, and so purified by different methods and pulverized into a powder form. This powder form and some air from the air preheater is sprayed into the furnace, where it complete combustion takes place. After combustion, it gives the output 3. So, number 1, it gives the ash. Number 2, it gives the flue gases. Number 3, which is required heat energy. First one, ash. The ash is generally taken by the ash handling plant. So, this from the furnace, ash is taken to the ash handling plant, and this is stored at ash storage plant. From the ash storage plant, it is taken by the different fields, for example, in cemetery factories. And coming to the second one, that is the flue gases. The flue gases takes nearly 15% of the heat developed in furnace. Why should waste the 15% of the heat? Hence, we use the economizer. So, economizer is the thing, one device, it will collect some heat energy from the flue gases, and same that heat is utilized for the heat the water for feeding to the boiler. After that, it passes through the air preheater. The air preheater also, it extracts some more heat from flue gases, and it heats the air, and same is fed to the furnace. After that, the flue gases are passed through the dust collectors. From that, it is allowed to the chimney, where it enters to the atmosphere. This is the flue gas. Next, coming to the third, that is the heat energy. Here 75% of the heat energy developed in furnace is taken by the boiler. The boiler may be, you know that, so water tube boilers. When it absorbs the heat energy from the furnace, it converted to steam. When steam attains its required pressure and temperature, generally the steam pressure may be 125 kg per centimeter square, and the temperature may be 315 degrees centigrade to 575 degrees centigrade. This high temperature, high pressure steam is passed through the air, this superheater, where the superheater is used to eliminate any moisture contents. If same moisture content is allowed to the turbine blades, there may be chances of rust. Hence, the superheater eliminates any moisture contents, that is 1-2%. After superheater steam is passed to the turbine input, where it expands. After expanding or after passing the number of fixed and moving blades, the turbine will rotate. It is coupled to our generator, mechanically coupled. Once generator with rotor will rotate, and as per the Faraday's laws of electromagnetic induction, so EMF induces. This voltage may be nearly 11 kV to 33 kV range, and we require some DC excitation, that is supplied by the exciter, DC compound generator. Voltage 115 to 230 volts DC supply. This low voltage, so generated in generator 11 kV to 33 kV is step up by the step up transformer, and next is passed to the load center by using the transmission lines and switchgear protections. Now we have seen the black coal from the coal mines is converted to our electrical energy. How it is processed? Okay, to increase the efficiency of our plant, why should waste the steam? The steam is at a high temperature, high pressure, is a passed number of fixed and moving blades. After that, it at a low pressure, that may be nearly the exhaust steam pressure is 6 to 2.5 centimeters of mercury, and this low pressure steam is passed to condenser, where the condenser condensates the steam. Then the steam formed to water. The water is a very purified nature. This water is fed to the boiler through the low pressure heater and high pressure heater as a makeup water. To condensate the steam, we require some water. The water is taken from nearby river or any water supply, and it is passed through the condenser. After that, it heated, it is cooled by cooling towers. This is a overall diagram of thermal power station. Even then, the thermal power station efficiency is very low, that is less than the 30%. Why? Our generator efficiency is above the 97%, and coming to the boiler percentage is above the 90%. But here enemies are turbine and condenser. Combining these two, this efficiency is below the 27%. Here the condenser losses 67%. Due to the losses of more heat and total drastically changes, the thermal power station is reduced to the nearly below the 30% of the efficiency. I think you understood. So, what is the basic operation of thermal power station? And I think you have the doubts. So, what is the pulverization here? The large size coal is formed to the powder form. What is this is a pulverization? What is the pulverization? Next, the flue gas is having some dust particles. How we are going to eliminate dust particles? Next, coming to the condenser. So, how the condenser will works, and next coming to the cooling towers. How the cooling tower works. If you are interested, let us go to in details. First of all, we will go to the pulverization. Come with me, pulverization. What is the definition of pulverization? First of all, so making the coal into a fine powder is known as pulverization. The coal may be various sizes. To burn completely, the size of the coal should be very small, low value, and we have to crush it by using different crushers and mills. It formed a powder form. Just you can see just here, if you take the chalk piece as if you assume this is the one coal particle. If this coal particle is crushed to as a small powder particle, so it converted to the powder, just like is a pulverized powder is same thing. If this powder is sprayed into the furnace where it has a high temperature and high oxygen, then automatically it will combustion takes place completely. This is a process of the solid one, big one is formed to the powder form. This is a pulverization. You want pulverization in thermal power station. So, let us go to the in-line diagram for details. Here is the single line diagram of pulverization. How the pulverization going on TPS. First of all, raw coal, so the bunking, that is the storage, is crushed to the crusher to form a nearly uniform size 30 mm diameter and stored in bunkers. This coal is passed through the magnetic separator where it separates pyrite and ramp iron. Next, it is passed through the dryer where it dries the coal. Next, afterwards is passed to the feeder, and from that required coal is passed to the pulverizing mill where the coal is formed to powder form. After mill make is a powder form, then it is passed to this powder, and the powder is carried by the air from the ID fan, induced draft fan, and this pulverized the powder is stored one bunker or pulverized bin. From that the air and the pulverized powder and secondary air sprayed into the furnace where combustion we required. Suppose here the separator, you can see here in mills the size of the pulverizing coal, if above the required value, then it is sent back to the mill itself. Then after it pulverized, this mill crushed it and formed to a small particles that is passed to the furnace, or sometimes we can place this is at storage plant. So, I think your overall idea of pulverization. If you want the pulverization, this mill, how is the pulverization taking place? Let us go to the how the pulverization will make. You see, this is a ball mill. In ball mill, you can see how the coal is pulverized. You can see here is a hoppers where the coal is stored. Here is a main thing is a rotating drum by motor. The drum having the number of balls, solid balls. Inside number of balls and drum is rotating. If anything comes in between, then what happen? Automatically crush will take place. So, let us see the process. So, this is a identical one. The coal from the hopper comes this direction and comes to the classifier, where it classifies the different size of the coal, and required size of the coal is sent into the drum through the screw conveyor. Once the coal enters into the drum is rotating and it has the balls, thereby they form to a powder form. The powder is carried by the hot air from the air free heater are taken and come to the 1 second classifier, where classifier is classified as a fine powder, and which are the more than the required size sent back to the drum itself. Then the small powder is passed to the air out, where it can be stored or it can be passed to the furnace requirement. This is a one of the machine used for pulverization. Identically this side you can see identical one. Okay, let us go to the remaining figure. So, another mill. So, you see the another mill. This is another pulverizing mill. Here also same process, but in previous slide only we used the balls. Here we use the balls and races. Let us see here the balls. Next, this are the lower race and outer race. What are the races? You see here. For example, if you are taking the any, so let us assume this is the lower race. This is the balls or rollers. Here is the outer race. Then in between, if you crush this one, what happen? If any coal in between the two races, what happen? It may be crushed to a powder form. Similarly, here also same taking place. The coal from the storage come this direction, you can see here, and enters into the ear, and where it is crushed to the powder form. After crushing this powder form, so this coal with air, hot air, so carried to the classifier, where it classifies different sizes. At this classifier, the small powder is passed to the required place, whether it has to store or it has to burn. Here is the springs. We have to adjust the size of the tension between the lower race and the outer race. The lower race can be run by some motor. This is another example of pulverizing mill. Let us go another figure, that is hammer mill. The process is similar. You can see the coal is coming here, process is similar. And coming to the another figure, that is a bowl mill. It is similar to the just like wet grinder. Just you assume this is the bowl in which stones. Similar to the, so it coal is formed a powder form that is carried by this direction. These are the different types of pulverizing mills. I think you have the one doubt. What is the necessary to pulverize? First of all, the coal at 30 mm easily burn in furnace. Yes, it has advantages. What are the different advantages for pulverization? Let us see the figure. Advantages of pulverization. First one, you can see, that is gives more surface area for a given mass of coal. Second one, fast combustion as more area is exposed to heat and oxygen. Yes, the particle itself, a small particle, it is exposed to the large oxygen and more heat, then what happen? A compulsory burn combustion will takes place. This is a process. Next, third one, fast response to load changes. So, third one, fast response to load changes. That means as per our requirement, whether load demand is more or low, depending upon our load demand, we can easily change the combustion quantity. Suppose load demand is more, we have to spray the more amount of the coal into the furnace. If load is suddenly decreased, then we have to regulate the quantity of pulverized powder into them. This is a third advantage of pulverization. Next advantage, that is fourth advantage, you can see here, boiler can be started quickly. Yes, the coal combustion takes place very quick, no time will take to burn. And fifth one, free from clinkers and slagging troubles. Yes, already we are separated so unwanted things by magnetic separators and other separators. Where is the clinkers? So, next sixth one, low grade coal also can be burnt. Yes, generally in thermal power station we are using the coal semi bituminous or bituminous. If we want, we can use the peat lignite coals also, but it has a more moisture content and ash content. So, we can use, if it is possible, low grade coal also by using pulverization. Next, coming to the seventh, no ash handling problem. Yes, in this case generally if you are taking the 100 megawatts plant, it will give only 150 tons of coal ash per day. That means if you are burning the any coal, it will give 10 to 20% of the coal burnt due to the pulverization. The quantity of the ash available is less due to the pulverization. So, eighth one is the last, the operation troubles are less. Yes, no problems, the combustion will very quick, it complete burn, ash is the less. So, what is the problem? No problems. These are the 8 advantages due to the pulverization. Okay, it has advantages. If having any disadvantages, yes, it has disadvantages. You can see what are the disadvantages. Disadvantages number 1, you can see here, 1, capital and maintenance cost is more. Yes, because we have to purchase the mills and to run the mills maintenance charge, we require the capital cost and the maintenance cost. Second one, it produces the fly ash. Yes, due to the pulverization it gives the fly ash, dust. You compare that one, suppose if you are seeing any stone crushing machine, the stone powder may be surrounding areas, not only limited to that machine, similar to the same process. And coming to the third point, that is due to high temperature, the refractory lined furnaces require cooling. Yes, the furnace is a continuous process and the lining temperature we have to limit to, we require some cooling, that is a costly process. And fourth one, powdered coal storage requires special attention from fire hazard point of view. This is a very dangerous, because it is ready to burn if heat energy available. Hence, we have to take more care while storing this pulverized powder form. These are the few disadvantages of pulverization. I think you have understood. So, what is the pulverization? What are the mills used for pulverization? What are its advantages and disadvantages? Let us go to the remaining part, that is the condenser. Let us go to the condenser. What is the definition of condenser? First of all, you can see condenser is a device in which steam is condensed to water at a pressure less than atmosphere. condenser is a device that is mainly it converts output of the turbine steam into water at a low pressure. This is the main idea of condenser. So, what are the main function of this condenser? First of all, it decreases the exhaust pressure below the atmosphere. Yes, the pressure at the output of the turbine is below the atmosphere. And second one, it provides hot feed water to the boiler. Once the steam is condensed, it has a water. The water is a very purified water, no scales, no contaminations. Then this water can be used as a feed water to the boiler. These are the two main aims of condensers. Okay, let us see the line diagram of condenser for clarity. You can see the steam condensing plant, how it is here. So, how you know that is this is a boiler. From boiler steam is coming and expanded in turbine. After losing its pressure, it is come out at a low pressure into the condenser. When condenser steam, that is the input of the steam, is formed to the water at a low pressure, is same fed to the boiler. To work condenser, we require some water. This water taken from nearby river, and once water is taken from the river and purified, it passes through the condenser pipes. Here is a cool water, here is a hot water. The hot water may not be recirculated through the condenser, hence we require the cooling towers, and the cooling towers cools the water, and this water recirculated through the condenser. The process is continuous, this one, and here the process is continuous. This is the main idea of condensing plant. Let us go to the details of condensers. Condensers are classified into two types. So, number one is a jet condenser, number two is a surface condenser. What is a jet condenser? What is a surface condenser? You can see here. This is a jet condenser, where the steam from the exhaust, steam from the turbine output, and is the cooling water from the cooling tower sprayed on exhaust steam. Here the water takes the latent heat from the steam and rapid condensation takes place, and here the condensation is this one, that is the water. This water may not be used for refeed water. This is a basic idea of jet condenser. Next, coming to the surface condenser, that is you can see here. Here the steam to be condensed enter into the condensing shell at the top, and water is passed through the coiled tubes, and the cool water is passing through these coils, and the steam is passes over these pipes. Then the rapid condensation takes place and the condensate is formed. This is here you can observe one thing, here the what exhaust steam and water is a direct mixing, here is not mixing, and this is a purified water. It can be used as a refeed water. This is a basic idea of condenser. So, if you want the more details about the condenser, a jet condenser and surface condensers, let us go to the jet condensers first of all. Jet condensers is classified into different types: low level jet condenser, high level jet condenser, ejector type jet condensers. Coming to the other family, that is a surface condenser. Surface condensers classified into the number of types, that may be nearly down flow surface condenser, central flow surface condenser, inverter type surface condenser, evaporative type surface condenser, and regenerative type surface condensers. So, today we will see the few of the condensers. Let us go to first of all jet condensers. Jet condensers, first of all high level jet condenser. High level jet condenser, you can see here, this is a condensing shell. The steam from the output of the turbine enters at the bottom of the shell, condensing shell, and enters at the bottom, raises upward. The water enters at the top, flows downwards. While the steam is raises up, the water is coming downwards, the mix takes place. Then the water takes the latent heat from the hot steam and form a condensation. Here from this place to this place, the height of the tube is 10 meters. Due to this one, the hot water is coming to the hot well. This hot water is cooled by the cooling plant. After cooling this one, so once again sprayed to the condenser. If any non-condensable steam is inside, that is extracted by the air pump. You can see this one. So how steam is coming and it's going this direction. Next, the water is coming this direction. And once this steam, this water and steam is mixed, it forms a condenser, and this water is coming to the hot well. This is a basic idea of the jet condensers. Let us go to the another type that is ejector type condenser. In ejector type condenser, the similar process. Here also same thing, and another type is a low level jet condenser. In low level jet condensers, the similar process, but here use the only difference is here use the pump. The steam to be condensed is the raises upward, and water, cool water sprayed downwards, and mixing takes place and condensation formed. It is extracted by the pump and placed in hot well. The hot water is cooled by the cooling plant. It is recirculated, and any non-condensable air is extracted by the air pump. This is the basic idea of jet condensers. Now let us go to the other family, that is the surface condensers. In surface condensers, you can see the first of all evaporative condenser. In evaporative condensers, we know that in surface condensers, first of all, the water and steam does not mix directly. Here the steam to be condensed is passed through the coiled pinned tubes, and next the water is circulated over the pipes, while the hot steam coming through these pipes and the water coming here. Some of the water extract the heat from the steam, evaporates, and remaining water fall in cooling plant. This is a continuous process. This is a continuous process. The water is coming this direction, the steaming coming here is you can see this one. Let us go to the another type, that is the surface condensers, so downflow condenser. In downflow condensers, it's a similar process. In previous case, evaporative condensers, so it cannot be used for large plants, and so we can use a different type, that is the downflow. A similar process you can see here. So water is circulated through these pipes, steam to be condensed passed to upper side, and so rapid condensation takes place, and downflow is a condensate, and air from the is extracted by the some baffles. This is one of the surface condenser. Coming to the another type condenser, that is central flow. So difference here, the exhaust fan, similar this fan, the extractor pump is placed in center. Same process, the steam is coming this direction, the condenser is formed, extracted this direction. These are the different type of the surface condensers and jet condensers. I think you have understood this is the condensers. Okay, you can one thing you have to observe, to condensate the condenser we require the cooling water. While the cool water enter into the condenser, then it comes as a output as a hot water. The hot water cannot be used once again, we have to cool. That purpose we require some cooling system. So cooling system, how the cooling system in thermal power station. Let us go in cooling system in thermal power station. Cooling system is classified into the three types. One is a closed system, so another is a open system, and the combining open system and closed system, it gives a mixed system. If you want the open system, let us go to the open system. So here is a line diagram of open system. You can see this is a condenser where the water is extracted nearby a river and filtered and passed through the condenser tubes. Steam to be condensed, so passes over the pipes, condensate formed, it is extracted. The cool water while flowing through the tubes, it takes the heat from the steam, and next is the hot water comes. This hot water is allowed at lower side of the river. No need of the recirculate or cool it one. This is possible when some more water is available. For example, in open system we require the nearly 50 times of the steam quantity. So, one drop of the steam is equal to to cool that one, we require the 50 drops of water. That much of the water is required in open system. This is possible only the water is available abundantly. For example, you can see the practical example of this one. So, you see this is a more water available, no need of cooling towers here. This is a power station, just is taking the water one side and after condensation it is allowed to the another side. This is the example for the open system. Let us go to the another system, that is the closed system. In closed system where the water is available is limited, same process, the output of the condenser hot water cooled by cooling towers. Even by using the cooling towers, the water required is more. For example, if you are taking the 1000 megawatt unit, it requires nearly 25,000 tons or more water is required. That water per day is sufficient for the supplying the total big city, nearly it equal to the Bombay. Even you are using the cooling towers, the water required for the station is very high. And if you want to see the, so for example, you can see the this 1 TPS where the water is available, then we use the cooling towers. And coming to the another type, that is the mixed system, combination of two. It has the water, at the same time is the cooling towers. What is the necessary to cool the if water is available? Because there is a objection of environment. This process is a continuous process, and if the continually allowing the hot water from the condenser into the river, there may be small living creatures that is harmed to that one, or water pollution. At that condition, we have to before allowing this hot water into the river, we have to allow first of all cool by using the cooling tower, then the cool water is allowed to the lower side of the river. This is a basic idea of mixed system. So, you see the one example, this is even the water is available, we are using the how many cooling towers, you can observe this. This is a mixed system. Generally in thermal power station we are using the only the closed system. In closed system we are using the mainly, that is the one water cooling and air cooling. Water cooling is divided into the two types. In water cooling mainly cooling ponds and cooling towers. Let us go to the cooling ponds. Just you assume this, the water out of the condenser is passed through the distributing pipes. The water is sprayed through the nozzles and to increase the maximum extent of the air. After cool this water, fall in a cooling pond. But here the pressure through the nozzles 1.5 kg, and the nozzles may be placed at a distance of 2 meters above water level. And in the water, the area required for cooling the cooling ponds is nearly 25 to 50 times of cooling tower required. Hence, this is not possible for large power stations, and more water is evaporated. That is why we have preferred the cooling towers. Let us go to the cooling towers. Yes, this is the cooling towers. The cooling towers are generally made with concrete, wood or steel. Depending upon the requirement, it is semi-enclosed. Depending on the shape, the cooling towers are classified into the natural air draught cooling towers, forced draught cooling towers and induced draught cooling towers. If you are using the external fan, then it is the forced or induced cooling towers. If you are not using any fan, that is a natural draught. The name, this is a construction itself, it is hyperbolic shape. Suppose the water to be cooled is passed at a meters of above the 10 meters downwards, and here air is entered at the lower side, the air is flowing upper side, and here the water is coming this downside. The air takes the heat from the water and goes here. You can see the steam, how the steam is formed due to the hot water. Next, coming to the fan, this is a forced and induced draught. In this case, if you are using the fan, for example, if you are going inside to the turbine, that is a cooling tower, the water to be cooled at a meter of above the 10 meters, sprayed downwards, here is some hurdles, and air enters inside. If the fan is placed in this direction, in this place, so it is the name as a induced draught cooling towers. And instead of fan placed here, if you are placing the fan in this case, they sucks the air from the atmosphere forced inside, then it is called the forced draught cooling towers. This is the basic idea of cooling towers. Next, coming to the another cool system, that is air cooling. We are not using the air cooling in thermal power station. I think you are understood cooling towers. Next, the important is that is the pollution control. Pollution control. So here is a very important. What is the definition of pollution? The addition of constituents to air or water or land which adversely change the quality of environment. This is the definition of pollution. The pollutions may be divided into the different types. If unwanted things added to the air, that is the air pollution. If you added to the water, water pollution. If you added to the land, land pollution, and sound pollution. These are the different types of the pollutions. In TPS, mainly the air pollution is the major. Let us go to the air pollution. How we are going to control the air pollution in thermal power station. So air pollution can be controlled by different methods. One, smoke minimized by correct firing. That means correct firing means by maintaining the high temperature inside the furnace. Next, by admitting the coal inside continuously instead of intermittent, and allowing the air, hot air into the furnace, then we can reduce the smoke. Next, coming to the low concentration of pollutants. So raw material itself, we are selecting the which are having the low pollutants, then it is called, we can reduce the smoke or pollution. Next, choosing tall chimney. Yes, because if you are choosing the 60 meters tall chimney, it can spread the pollutants nearly 60 meters. Not 60 meters, 8 kilometers spread. That means by using the tall chimney, the concentration deposition land is decreases. So these are the different methods. And fourth one is the elimination of pollutants from the flue gases. Yes, we are using the three methods, even then some pollutants present in flue gases. How we are going to eliminate that flue? So we can eliminate that one by using the dust collectors. The dust collectors are mainly some mechanical dust collectors, another is the electrostatic dust collectors. So mechanical dust collectors can be used when the size of the dust particles above the 10 microns. If below that one, we may not be used. At that time, we can use the electrostatic precipitator. You can see this is the electrostatic precipitator. Here, the dust laden gas. First of all, you see the construction. Here is the number of positive plates and negative plates connected in parallel vertically. It is connected to the high voltage, nearly 30 kV to 60 kV. So the distance between the place to place is very small, and high voltage, a strong electrostatic field exists between these two plates. While enter the dust laden gas into the precipitator, and the charge ionization takes place. In ionization, 80% of the positive ions and 20% is the negative ions. The 80% of the positive ions is if the ionized gas further enter into the near to the collecting place into this one, here is a strong electrostatic field exert a force on positive charge particles, and divert towards the ground plates where it attracts. After that, we can remove this dust by shaking method. This is the basic idea of this electrostatic precipitators. So you can see it's a dark arrows coming and it's a light arrows coming out. So this is the basic idea of electrostatic precipitator. You can see the one example, the practical example of electrostatic precipitator. How the dust is coming, passing through the vertical plates, and so as a clean gas entering the leaving from this one. Next, another example of this one. You can see this one, practical example of electrostatic precipitator. This is another example of electrostatic precipitator. Okay. So now is some of the what we have seen in this class. In this class, we have seen mainly single line diagram of thermal power station and pulverization, pulverizing mills, its advantages and disadvantages, condenser, types of condensers and its process. Next, cooling system, different type of the cooling systems and cooling ponds, cooling towers. Lastly, we have seen the pollution control in thermal power station by using the electrostatic precipitator. I think you are very familiar with this thermal power station. So now by using this basic idea, you may see the any thermal power station practically, whether it is a VTPS or KTPS.